Monet's early work or late work?
You have to look up some, he did it over and
I'll
over
look it
again.
up.
He did it over and over
I'll
again.
look it up.
So look it up and see.
Oh.
He did the same things over and over again because he painted his house. What you'll see is the stuff that remains that he didn't throw out changes. He's almost painting a memory of what he knows. The colors change because he can't really see them. He did not like this. And right, Matisse was kind of limited by his hands. So he and Cezanne were very obsessed with how few lines can I draw and do something. Okay, so now I've got everybody in. And now I've got everybody in. I'm going to call up I'm getting better at this, but it still takes me a little time. Let me jump into our class on my phone and we'll talk about the demo. And I'll show you what we did yesterday so that you can see it. Because it's
I saw Monet original and that was the most exciting thing that I've ever seen.
Isn't it? I mean, he's crazy. This guy paid like security guards at the Louvre to let him in late at night after the water lilies got installed to work on that. It was like he was definitely a crazy dude. All right, so now let's see. I'm gonna spotlight. Okay, if there's noise coming from, I would ask you guys to mute yourselves. Just figure that out. Okay, I don't know where that noise is coming from. I'm gonna have to mute everybody unless the person who's got noise coming has got.
Jetzt muss man erstmal verstehen, was ist überhaupt ideal.
Who is that?
It's German, I can tell you that much, but
okay, who's listening to? Oh, so Emma, that's got to be you. I'm gonna mute you. There we go. You're right. Thank you. So this is what we did yesterday in class. This is the demo. Different subject matter, but similar idea. And don't these colors make you so happy? So if you want to, we're going to start with a black and white image.
Oh, so don't invite me.
We're going to start with a black and white image. I'm going to take this down, but I wanted you to see what we did yesterday so that if you want to, you can practice this same technique again, but with a different subject. Bye-bye. Here we go. All right. So the helpful point of this, so to help the pencil drawers. So this is going to be done in Pastel. The demo is going to be done in Pastel, but you can use any medium that you want. For those of you who are beginners, I think it's a good idea to grid your paper. So whether you're working in Pastel or and by the way, I'm working with newsprint. I don't know if you can see this here. I'm working with newsprint. So the same stuff we use for charcoal, but you have options. You can use different kinds of pastel paper. The only thing that really doesn't work for this technique is Bristol. Don't use Bristol paper, the stuff we use for ink. The pastel will slide off and not stay. But anything, and newsprint is really great because it's kind of a low, you should mostly have it. But if you have just a regular pencil and paper, that's great. So whether you're using a pastel, charcoal, or a pencil, you're going to start by creating a grid on your blank sheet of paper. You can do that two ways. You see how I have to go through a lot of stuff now. You can do that two ways. If you do not have a ruler and you're working with a pencil, you can take a sheet of paper, a blank paper here, like this, and you can fold it in half. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so that is evenly, and when you open it up, you will see that it is divided into 16 equal rectangles like this. However, if you have a pastel, so for those of you who are working in pastel, my suggestion is you pick a very light colored pastel, like a yellow or a white, anything that you can see I might use something brighter just because, here's a nice one, right? Like something like this, which I can see kind of closely here, there. So you can create a grid on your paper with a pastel and a ruler using this technique. If you are a pencil drawer, you're going to use a pencil or a marker. So this is how the gridding technique works. You're going to do it on your blank sheet of paper. I'm going to do it on the source here so that you have the grid available. I start by getting the measurement of each side, the halfway point. So for me, this is 11 inches, which means the halfway point is 5.5. You can use either inches or centimeters. It doesn't really matter. You can go back and forth. Notice I'm marking that halfway point using whatever numbers. I'm careful to make sure that I've got my ruler lined up at the same place on both the top and the bottom. And then when I've got these two marks, I can line up the ruler and draw them. So we will move to color, guys, I promise. On the short side, we're going to do the same thing. In my particular case, this is 8.5 inches, so 4.25 is the halfway point. Notice I'm doing it here. Oh, this thing is in the way. Let's see. 4.25, it's about there. Right, so once again, I can line up my sides, make sure I've got everything correct. So that's the first two folds of the paper. The second two folds are the halfway point of each half. So for me, that's 2.75 between these two. I'm just going to draw them all. And then on the short side, it's about 2.2. Mostly inches are a really stupid way to measure something. You will find quickly, if you use inches, how dumb they are. It's hard to divide them up. Centimeters and millimeters are way easier. Let's do that this way a little bit. Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, they're just dumb, but you know, like a lot of things in this country, it's just dumb. But we're stuck with
Leah, is it okay to use a pastel pencil?
I would not use a pastel pencil. Not a pastel pencil. Good question. It's too strong a line and you won't be able to get rid of it. Like charcoal, you want your lines to be able to kind of smudge out.
So the grid should be with a normal pencil is fine?
No, the grid should be with a big, thick pastel stick, not a pencil. Like this.
Okay, I have a pastel. Yeah, I have that.
Yeah. The stick, not the pencil, which looks like a colored pencil.
No, I don't have.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Okay, great. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Good question, Rashmi. Yes. No, you do not want to. The one sort of material that does not really mix with pastel is pencil. We're going to explore. I think you guys are going to go nuts with pastels. You just can't beat them for color. They're so amazing.
I'm very excited about that.
You can combine a lot of things underneath pastel to make, to create sort of more vibrant works. So we can use ink, we can use watercolor, we can use acrylic. There's a lot of things that we can do, and we will be exploring those over the next few weeks. But for the moment, for the next two classes, we're focusing on the layering of pastels. Okay, so you can see I've got this here. Does anybody want, well, let me start actually with how you'll start your drawing. So if you're, regardless of whether you're in pencil or pastel, you're gonna start, let's see, we'll start with a hot pink line. You're gonna start with this line and notice that this line is only going around the outer edge of the drawing. So this is going to be, so for those of you working with a grid, or if you're not working with a grid, you're still going to draw this first line. So I'm actually not going to work with a grid. This part of the paper is about the size of the pastel. So I'm going to eyeball it. We'll see how that goes. And let me scoot this a little bit this way. So I can see, there we go. Right, so these are about the same size. That's a little bit tall, and down a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to do this without a grid, but I totally encourage you guys to do this with a grid. So if you're starting with pencil, you're going to look at you're going to locate the points on the grid where these outer circles, you could even mark them. If you're kind of eyeballing it, you're going to do this, right? Oh, I should probably draw with a lighter pastel. I'm going to draw with like, I want to see something that you guys can see. I'm going to draw with this yellow pastel. I think you can see it pretty well. You'll see that this is kind of an important, and that's this line here. And then this comes out like that. Can you see it?
I'm sorry, should we also use yellow for this?
If you should use any color that's kind of light. So don't use black. Don't use a dark color. Use a color that will probably disappear. Great questions, you guys, by the way. Wonderful questions. I know when we deal with a new subject, there's always that issue. So that's here. I think that's right. Maybe it's a little bit big. If I make a mistake in pastel, I can kind of rub it out with my fingers. I'll be able to cover up. And then that comes down, and then it's kind of across, and then it goes up all the way to the edge here. And it kind of lines up with this little leaf sticking out like this. And then it comes in. This will probably be the hardest part of this exercise, because trying to get straight lines is tough. So that's your...
Leah, for those of us doing it for the first time, should we just watch you for now and then do it afterwards, or just follow you along?
I think you can follow along. I think you can follow along, because right now we're just working on the drawing, and we've done that part before, right? So I would say just make sure you're either using pencil or charcoal with the grid, or you're using a light colored pastel like this one. While you're doing this, let me introduce you to some other things that can be used with pastel. I always have a toothbrush, obviously not to brush your teeth. Can you imagine? Can't even, gross. But if you have a clean toothbrush and you put too much pastel, pastel is all about mixing, which means that you want to make your lines disappear with darker layers. And if you go too dark, just like ink, it's sometimes difficult because pastel leaves dust, to get the sort of quality of the thing that you want. So you might have gone, say, too dark. Or too light. So you can take the toothbrush. You can see I'm vigorously scrubbing it. I won't entirely get rid of it, but I'll get rid of some of this dust, which you might even be able to see is sort of flying down and flying off. You'll see dust will come off your paper. So, and the biggest issue with pastels is that you really can't fix them. So in the end, they're going to be very smudgy and smudgeable. So you're going to need to store them. We will also talk about that. If not during this class, during the next class for sure. So I don't know if you can see, I'm kind of scrubbing this out so that if I want to put another color on, let's say I want to do kind of a light pink. Oh yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I can kind of do that and not have the colors mixed together so much. So the toothbrush is going to be important. Another thing that's kind of helpful, as you'll see as we go into the blending process, I'm going to put this down here so you can see what's going on. So because I am working, hang on. If I hit the wrong button on my phone, then the phone turns off. Let's do that. So I am working straight up and down. You guys are, oh, come on. Sorry. I am working straight up and down. Let's try that. Take 3, right? Which means I'm working on an, okay, that's just ridiculous. Hang on. Here we are. Okay, no touching buttons on the sides of my phone. No touching buttons. There we go. So I am working on an easel, right? You can see it. So my painting is straight up and down, which means that as I'm working, pastel dust is falling. So one of the things I like to do if I'm working straight up and down is to give myself a little dust catcher. So this is just like literally like the, and you can see there's even dust from the last class in it, right? So this is from last night's class. So this is just literally a piece of sort of hard cardboard. You could use Bristol paper, would be good for this. You can use like the edge of a notebook. But basically I just tore off a sheet of paper and folded it. And then I'm putting it here and setting down my board with 1/2 on one side here and 1/2 on the other. So what that does is at the end of class, you can pick this up, you can take this away, and if you hold it very carefully without knocking it off, you can actually go over to the garbage can and dump it out. I'll just do that right here, dump out the dust. If you're working straight up and down, you're just going to find that occasionally you're going to be blowing a bit the pastel. You might at points want to pick your paper up and take it outside, blow it out a window, or tap it and drop that extra pastel dust into the garbage. Otherwise, it's going to get everywhere. Welcome to the wonderful world of pastels. Here's the thing about pastels. You'll never get colors in any other medium like you do in pastel. It's just amazing, but what a mess. Also, it's easy to be able to get, and just to make sure everybody's working with these dry pastels, you're not working with this is my minuscule little pastel set. I do everything with these. These pastels are, they are like chalk. They are not like crayons. There are some pastels, oil pastels that are like crayons. That is an entirely different technique. I don't know how to do it, and I would not advise you use them. At least I can't help you with them because the technique is very different. If you're working with a very waxy surface, this is like charcoal. So you want your pastels to be like charcoal. Is anybody like totally excited about seeing the color on the paper?
Yes.
It's so awesome. All right, so once you finish this drawing, just jump in with questions as you've got it. So once you finish this drawing, let's see, now we want to kind of get the fruits, right? And the leaves in the upper lip of the bowl. So if you're working in black and, if you're working with a pencil, you're just going to keep working with this black and white image. I will actually take a picture of it once I get it here, so that you can get these shapes in and then start coloring in the darkest areas first for your values. All right. So this becomes a lot less intimidating once we break out the bigger shapes and then the less big shapes, right? The smaller shapes within. So there are your smaller shapes. Let's see, I'll continue with this. I'll start with this leaf. It's kind of coming out like this. There's another leaf that comes in like that. There's a little light edge to that ball. I think this is a lemon, although I can't get much of it because really, there we go. All right, and then I'll probably add in my bowl Yeah, so if you know, kind of going back to your other question, Claudia, if you want to just watch me do this, then you can start later. Or you can try to jump in, because this is a lot of material. If this feels too intimidating to you, too big, you can also just take an area, a square, and do just that. So if you're like, oh, this is too much drawing, I just want to work on this one little square. You see how I'm just trying to, since I'm having to eyeball this because I don't have the squares, but you should have a little bit of help from your grid. Oops, no, that's not right. Here, it's like, okay, so I put that in the wrong place. All right, so this, there's this, and then this goes like that. Excuse me. Pastel does also makes me sneeze a little bit. And if you don't get things exactly right, you can kind of scrub with your finger out. If you don't want to use your finger, you can use a paper towel. Let's see. There's like. You can simplify if you want to. You can simplify if you want to a bit your drawing. You don't have to do exactly what's here. If you're like, oh, I drew this fruit too big and you don't mind the look of it, that's totally okay. You can say even this is even taking me a little while to get done. And then here, yep. So what we're really doing is we're outlining the dark and the light and the medium shapes. Oh. And then this is where the fun starts. So what I'm going to do right now is take a picture of this so you guys have it, particularly those who are working in pencil. Okay, great. So Angela, here is, I'll resend over the color picture of what we're working on. We're working in pastel. You can work in pencil if you want. So this is the black and white, and let me give you a black and white. Let me give you a close-up of the black and white if you're working in pencil. There we go. And then for those of you who came in a little bit, you'll see at the beginning of the thread, there is the color version of this. So, and I'll be reviewing your stuff later, guys. I want to kind of get through the demo part and then I'll take a look at what you're working on.
Yeah,
yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, well, I've only gotten so far as the grid for now.
Right, right. That's fine.
So if I start with the outer one that you drew with pink.
The pink, yes.
So do I stick to like pink or?
No, you want a light colored pastel. So I probably, if you're working in pastel, I do like a yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, I just did the pink because yellow is not very visible to see.
Right.
So yeah. I know, once we get into color, there's this whole other arena of thing that you're thinking about. Okay. And what I also really love about pastels is that it gets you ready for paint. So in January, we will start painting. Like in January, we're going to start with acrylic paint. And then those of you who want to stay will stay. In February and March, we will go to oil painting for those of you who want to, or you can stay with pencil. There's all of these lessons will start this way, where we'll start with a black and white drawing. So you can do that in pencil if you want, or really any medium, or, you can do what Diana does and just work on paintings. And when the demo is done, she asks for help. So if she needs it. So like, there's lots of options here. But what I really love about pastels is and this is the thing that's not intuitive, don't assume you know it, assume that you don't know how this works. Every painting starts with a different layer or a different underpainting. So what is an underpainting? And pastels also have an underpainting. So we're going to practice that today. So what do I mean by an underpainting? I have a couple around so I can show you. Let's see. This is a very traditional underpainting. Let's see if I can pull this back a little bit so you guys can see a little bit more. This is a commission. A woman sent me a photo of her father fly fishing. So you'll see that the entire first layer of this painting is done in reds, but you can still see what the image is about. Can you see standing in the water? Right? It's a little bit lighter here. It's a little bit darker. So paint really doesn't look good until you have at least 1 or 2 layers underneath. It is the same with pastels. Paint and pastels are transparent. That means the first layer of color. The other thing that I did, which is kind of which you don't usually expect, is my canvas is actually gessoed. That means primed, not with white, but with black. So you can notice already how these colors are starting to vibrate, right? Even though this painting is not remotely close to done, and it will look very different at the end, it already starts to look like something. And the things are starting to come together. The person is clear. All of it is like the sort of beginning vibration. So that what we're thinking about always is, what's the color underneath the color I see? I think for most people, they just assume that if they see a yellow, they put a yellow, right? I think that's the standard way of thinking about it. But pastels don't work that way. Pastels work with layers, just like paint. So what's nice about this is it starts to get you ready for that idea. So I'm often sent like paintings from people who don't know anything about painting, where they're like, what do you think of this? And the painting's very flat because that's like the first layer. So do you guys want a couple minutes, or do you want me to start to jump into color? You can be working on your thing. I loved it. I want to show you color. Let me show you color. Let's get to the color part of this exercise, because that is exciting. I realize that, like, as much as I love drawing and as important as it is, I just perked up last night when we started talking about color. Color is like so much fun. So, right, so let's return to this idea. Here, I think most people think that you might just put a yellow here, right? You might just put a yellow down. Well, what happens when we do that? If I just put a straight yellow down, like that, and then maybe a slightly sort of greeny, here we go, right? If I just put this one layer of color, it looks pretty flat. There's not, also, it's not really what's happening here. This is a little bit too dark for this, right? There's like, not, so there, what's happening is there's actually a color under every color. So I might start my yellow with like a lighter yellow. And if I want to know how it's going to look, I'm going to actually test it down here. So there's a part of the paper that is not my drawing, but it's the same color. So I know that like things will be the same. So I'm starting with a lighter yellow, and then I'm layering a darker yellow on top. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of a vibration. Let me try something else. Let me try starting with kind of an orangey color, a bright yellow like this. It's a little bit too orange, but what if I started with that and laid in a light yellow on top? So can you see the difference? If I just put this down versus something like this or something like this. This is flat. So if I'm gonna do, let me do the lime in the back. Say there's a touch of green. in here. I can layer in, oh yeah, I think that's totally gonna work very nicely. So so here is like a lemon, right? Just done in what I think are the basic colors. Let's see, like that. Here in the back is a lime that I'm gonna try using 3 different colors. I'm gonna start with this bright yellow. And then I'm gonna put a lighter yellow on top. And then on top of that, I'm gonna put a light green because it's a kind of a greeny, right? And I think that's pretty beautiful. Let me bring you a little bit closer so you can see this color mixing. I'll take pictures of all of these so you can see them. Let's bring it closer. You guys see that better now? Yeah. So you can see the difference between this and something that's got a little bit more depth like this. So we might look at this and say, oh, that's just a green. Here, I'll put that up here in the corner. But you can see, I can see through the green. It's kind of flat. So I know I need to layer that green, as my test shows, with a little bit of light here, yellow here, dark yellow here, lighter yellow on top. And then a green. And I'm using my fingers to blend. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Look at the difference between this very flat yellow and what's happening back here. And then to really reiterate that point, once I've got those in, I can take my dark pastel, my black, and kind of highlight around the edge. Right, because that's what Cezanne, that's what Matisse did here. So your job in this lesson is to do, and I'll do a couple of others just so we have point, is to find out what is the color underneath the color. So you're going to add at least 2 layers of color to every piece of fruit that you do. Once again, let's see. Here is a apple. Wait, here. Right? Here is an apple just done with red. There we go. Here's an apple just done with a kind of orangey red. It's okay, but it's kind of flat. Here's an apple where, what if I started with, I don't know, let's do a couple of tests. What if I start with yellow and then put red on top? That is coming closer to what's actually happening here. So, oops, sorry. If I start with my yellow, and then I put my orange in. See the difference? This has more of an orangey texture. It's got a little bit more depth. This is very flat. This top color is very flat. So the challenge of this exercise is you're going to be looking for the color underneath the color of every piece that you're drawing, right? Here are some things to make it a little simpler. You can do just a portion, right? You don't have to do the whole thing. You do not have to stick to this color scheme. You can look at the black and white that I've sent through the WhatsApp thread, and you can put whatever colors you want. So if you want to make this, I don't know, you want to make this thing hot pink rather than green, I'll start by finding kind of a base color. So if I want to make this thing, which is green here, hot pink, you can totally do that. But I do want this to reflect the values. So this should be about the same value as this thing next to it. So regardless of whether it's pink or green, maybe a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit lighter. So I might even come in on top and add a little bit of yellow to lighten that and create some of that striation. So look what I was able to do here with these colors, and then I can come in with my black. You never come in with the black until the very end. Even your black can have pieces underneath. If I start with the blue and then I add black on top, my black has a richness. So see, let's see, if I do just black here, like what's here, it's okay. It also looks flat, even though it's black. But if I put a blue under my black, is anybody finding this totally awesome? Are you itching to get started?
Yes.
Is your mind blown at what's actually happening?
Yes.
So, all right. So I would say what I'm going to do is take this picture. I'm not going to finish this. I think you guys want to. I think you guys are ready to do this. Although if you want me to, I can do it. I'll take a picture of this and my testing so you can see it really clearly. Or for the moment, maybe I'll just keep it up here. And while you get started, I want you to start sending me, as you start getting color down, I want you to send me not only what you're drawing, but I want to see your testing. So I want to see that you're testing below or on a different sheet of paper, every layer of color that you put on here. So paint works the same way, guys. It's amazing. In fact, really, pastel is paint. It's just dry paint in stick form. And it has a different medium that kind of binds it. It's like got a different binder. But other than that, Emma, I really like how you're doing this because Emma has to work, but she's just watching. So she knows she can go back later. It's kind of like watching an artist work live is kind of like watching Bob Ross, right? Like watching that kind of process happen. So there's a lot of fun in the absorption of just doing it. You know, heck, I'm just going to keep going because this is fun. Now, I still want you to keep your values strong. What is that? What are values? Remember, the values are the lightness or darkness of any color. So that means that this color, this yellow that I'm laying down here, this orange has to look darker than this yellow. So whatever color is here, this color is lighter and this color is darker. This color is darker too. You'll see there's a lot of different yellows, a lot of different reds, a lot of different oranges. Notice if I get I generally probably don't want to do my blacks until I lay down, this is kind of a really pretty gold color. So I might like this before my greens. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. I won't lay my blacks down until I've got all my fields of color because the black will blend in with the field of color. Notice that it's sometimes you can go too dark with a color and you can't get it. So for example, this one is a little bit dark, not super dark. So if I went too dark with this, if I try to lay other colors on top, it just kind of blends in because this is mixing, right? I can't get it light enough. So what do? I come in with my handy toothbrush and I pull off, you can look at all that dust flying off. I don't know if you can see it, but the dust is just flying off. So I can go in and add in lighter colors on top. So just like I always want you to think, oh yeah, see that like works a lot better. And then on top of that, there we go. Now I have my light that I needed before. If I tried to do it, even though the color is still there, it's the extra kind of dust from the pastel that stays, which mixes and becomes kind of muddy. So that's why testing is really important. You want to do that. Oh, it's already looking pretty. Looks so pretty already. Does anybody have questions as you're working, or does this kind of make sense? So if you wondered why your paintings always look flat, it's because you didn't think about the color underneath the color. So I'm going to be hitting you with this hard, so hard, every week, every time, with this color theory here that we're working with pastels. And also when we move to painting, I'm going to be on you to tell me and think about the color underneath the color. There is layers to a painting. And if you don't have the layers, the painting looks flat. So that's going to be the thing. You're going to want to go straight. It's like instant gratification, you know, like you want the painting, just like people want to work a detail rather than get the whole picture right first. We don't like to do that because the picture looks awkward. But if we don't have these bigger shapes, we don't allow that picture to go awkward and the picture to come out in pieces. We start with the bigger shapes, then we add the smaller shapes within. We tend to mess up the proportions, right? So it's the same with paint and pastels.
I have
And-
a question
Yes.
about smudging, mixing with your
Yeah.
fingers.
Yes.
How
Let's see. There's a couple of different things you could do. You can, and I love this. Everybody asks this question. I think this is a really great question. So say I lay this down and then I'm going to put a yellow on top. You have a couple of options. You can take your fingers and just blend like that, right? Or you can use, if you don't want to get this on your fingers, you can use a paper towel, lightly. Okay, so say I want to go lighter than this. And the other thing you can do, and this is another product which you can buy or you might have in your house. You can use, if you want to lay like a lighter color on top of a darker one, but you don't want them to mix together. You can use this pastel. This is like a matte, this is a fixing spray that works for charcoal and pastels and pencils. Usually they make them. If you don't have this, hairspray works. So you can just take hairspray. So you can spray it. As you'll see, this got a lot darker. And when it dries, I can actually put like pastel on top. So there's the mark making, just like in all the other mediums, there's the mark making of blending, right? Where you're blending with your finger or a paper towel. And then there's the very strong, like I use the edge of the pastel to create a strong line on the side, and I don't blend it, right? I don't blend it because I want this line to look hard next to the softness of this blended area. And when this dries, I will show you what this looks like and why we can't really spray the finished product of our pastel painting, which is a pain, but the colors are very joyous, aren't they, you guys? They're really, really great. They're awesome. Boy, this is messy. I'm sorry. In some ways, I'm sorry to introduce it to you because it's a whole rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole of thing because you never have enough pastel colors. You can keep buying sticks. It gets very expensive. And it's messy, but aren't they beautiful? I mean, there's nothing like it. Listen, I'm an oil painter for the most part, but I do a lot of, I feel like I can do everything I want to do really with oil paint, but there are some things that image-wise I cannot pull off unless I work with pastel. And that's because pastel is so vibrant. It's so bright. It's really beautiful. And here we are working with the master. If you want to and then here we are working with Matisse. Is this dry yet? No, it's not quite dry. But notice, oh yeah, well, here we go. You can see this. So you can see this finger doesn't have pastel on it yet. So if I go into the wet and the dry stuff, right, now I've got yellow everywhere, pink and yellow, right, everywhere. But if I go into the wet stuff, the stuff I've just sprayed, nothing, right? So that means it's fixed. But notice it got darker. However, I can put a light on top and look at how beautiful that is. So you may want to get fixer spray, or you may just want to pick up some hairspray from the corner shop, right? And, oh yeah, and this also got sprayed. So anything, but if it's not sprayed, and I try to add color, it gets darker. You see that? I can't get the vibrancy that I can if I spray it and I put lights on top. Notice how nice those lights look on top of a sprayed piece. So you can,
Right.
Yeah.
I like it.
yeah,
Very-
so you can use it, but then if I spray this, you lose it. So I will lose it if I spray it again. See, I lost it
Okay.
completely. So you cannot spray the top, the finished product of your painting. In fact, I'll do that now just so you can see what happens.
Yeah, before we destroy something precious.
Yeah, right, right. So, I mean, the thing is, you'll never destroy it because you can always go over the top, right? So this, when it dries, I've lost some of the vibrancy, but when it dries, I can go over with the bright layers. But if I want those bright, most pastel artists do not spray their final layers because you can't, like, you lose the brights. Which leads to problems. I'll show you, hold on, I have a bunch of pastels. I'll show you how I tend to package them. So I do a lot of pastel studies. Let's see, get this guy up for my work here. Here's one. This is like a mountain scene. This is using a technique I haven't shown you yet with marker and sanded paper. It's really awesome. We'll learn this in 3 weeks. And maybe we'll even do this scene. But to keep this protected, because the top layer will come off, I actually put it in a plastic sheet, right? And I store it on its side. What you can do is just put a piece of paper between each pastel and a plain piece of paper or newsprint between each pastel, lay it gently, lay it flat, put a piece of paper down, and then you can put your next drawing on top. But just be aware, these things smudge. And yeah, look, now this is dry. So if I wanted to, I could go over the top. Yeah, look at this, Natalia. See how brightly that yellow comes in on top of there? So if I want to, I can do that once, but I can't spray this again if I want that to stay. So, yeah. So that's kind of the basics. We're going to practice next week. I like to practice with Odilon Radon, but I know Sandra has made a particular request that we do animals, so I may do an animal. We'll see. Let's see here. And what I'd like to know is, and I appreciate you guys being flexible as here, I'm going to remove the spotlight right now. I appreciate you guys being flexible as we go through and make these changes. I think we're getting to a system that will work out pretty well. Let's see. You can see Diana's underpainting is blue of her doggy. If you want to take a look. Okay, Olga, Anik, these are looking okay, but I'm not seeing your under layers. I'm not seeing under layers. It's looking kind of flat to me. How many layers have you? So you need to do more testing, and you need you need a little bit more vibrancy, which means you might need a brighter yellow underneath your lighter yellow. Okay.
Right.
I'll try.
Olga, this is coming together. Yeah. To me, your lime, which is here, let me put up the thing so we can see it. I'm going to point to the screen. Your lime here is too dark. So is actually your lemon here. You need to get brighter. Look at how bright these colors are.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to layer something on top. So that's what I'm saying. Like, don't go so fast. Actually pay attention to the technique because you're missing the technique in the going too fast. For people, this is going to feel, Anuja, that drawing looks great. And I like the testing, by the way. For people, this is going to feel, now I'm just looking at the WhatsApp thread. So if you want to send stuff over, people who are doing this for the first time, please get that this won't feel easy or obvious. You won't necessarily know the answer because you're not used to thinking this way. So just like everything else, I want you to test and try. And I want you not to speed through. I want you to actually spend some time trying to build vibrant colors and not flatness. We're trying to avoid flatness here. So go ahead. I am actually looking at the thread if you want me to look at it. Also, I may use stuff on this thread on the on my Instagram for teaching, which is the Roaming Studio. So you can see Rashmi. I just posted Rashmi's really wonderful ink drawings on there. Before that, I did Janet.
Maya is very intrigued with all the sound I'm making with the pastel and
A little pastel scratching.
her ears are pricked up.
And she's quiet. And she's quiet right now, which is
Very quiet
unusual.
today.
Yeah, I have to say, once I got to here, I love drawing, and drawing is key to being able to use color. You need to be able to draw. But the moment we got to this lesson, I was like, oh yeah, I love color.
I'm very happy. It's really
a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking at the
Rashmi, I like that. I like that. Nice testing, Rashmi. You may want to go even one layer lighter on your on that lime on the top. Can you see? You can see it's like brighter and kind of, so you've got this base here. Now you want a bright green. I know you're also limited by whatever you have, right? Like if you don't have that color. So you might try mixing a yellow on top or a yellow and a green on top to get that kind of brightness. Notice that, Rashmi, this is really good for bases. But with pastel,
Yeah.
Dark base is good, but if you go too dark, you can't get light unless you take a toothbrush and scrub out a little bit.
Yeah, and one more thing, I'm using a mixed media paper.
That's good.
And yeah, but rubbing it off or smudging it off is a bit difficult on this. So I'm not sure how will it look. But then it's not looking bad when I'm smudging it, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure how it. Yeah. So
Is it,
that's fine.
let me look at your paper up close. Is it bumpy? Your paper kind of bumpy? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's-
see.
yeah.
So it's got a lot of tooth to it. It's got tooth. We call that tooth if it's got a bumpy texture and the pastel falls in. So,
But it said that it's like, it can be used for.
oh yeah, no, you can totally use it for pastels. It's just sometimes you might have to get more layers in to really get
Okay,
that.
I'll do
Yeah. Yeah, it's different. What I like about newsprint is it just kind of sinks in, the colors sink in. I mean, it's not particularly archival. It's not like, I use different paper if I'm trying to sell, make something to sell, but it's great for practice.
And I tried getting that sanded paper that we'll need later. That's just not available here.
Yeah, I know. You have
And
to
the
go
one
to
that's there on Amazon, that'll come in December end, and it
well, you might
costs
as well get, right. Like, so if you can't get it, don't worry about it. We might be able to do something similar with watercolor paper. So that's looking good, Anya. Good to work on your darks. Very nice. Wonderful.
I'm so jealous to those of you who have colors. I'm like so looking forward to do it next week because I was not prepared. It's so cool.
It's a great incentive, isn't it, to get your supplies? So for those of you who don't know where the supplies are, I will show you. There's a supply list also on that page. Here, let me flip over. Can you see the registration page right now? Hold on, let me stop the share. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't like me to switch things up. So let me try this. So let me just show you quickly. So this is that, okay, let me go back one step. So this is how you find this. All right. So here is the front page of the website. You want to go to the Art at Work portal. And then anybody remember the, what's the password?
Art is fun.
Art is fun, which is also the password for our Zoom link, which is true. And then when you get on there, you will see a link to the supply lists. Click here for the schedule and the supply lists. So you can click here and it'll take you to the core curriculum and you will see supply list. So right now I've got pencils, charcoal and ink, I've got pastels and I've got watercolor. I'll get acrylic paint and oil paint supply list up soon, but we're really not getting to that until January. So I'll put those up in a little while. So you can find those here and that'll have your pastel supply list. So everything really should be on that little portal. There's your supply list. Okay, so let me get this back up. Stop the share. Let's share the picture again.
So Claudia, how is your new job?
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, I'm just I'm just trying to get used to having to get up every morning at 7 or 7:30. That's the hardest part, to be honest, and having to cook and do meal prep and all that.
But the job itself is fun.
Yeah, the job is cool. Yeah. It's really, it's fun. It's good. And I have a nice office all to myself, so it's all good.
How many people do you have working with you or for you?
A dozen.
Oh.
Really small, yeah.
So small.
Yeah.
That's big enough.
Yeah, it's a good size.
All right, so we are all okay. I'm just double checking with starting this class an hour earlier. Angela, I don't know what that will be for you in Lagos. I know it's going to be 4 p.m. So class will start at 8 a.m. LA time. It'll start at 11 a.m. in New York, DC. It'll start at 4 p.m. London time, and it'll start at 5 p.m. in Europe, and it will start at 9:30 p.m. in India. So I'm glad you guys are
4 p.m. London time works. I think 4 p.m. London time works for me.
4 p.m. London time. Okay, so you're the same as London. You're the same as London.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
We're going to have to bring it back a little hour earlier because India didn't go back with us. So their class today, they're working at 10:30 p.m. And that just feels like punitive, right? It feels like too late. Excellent. Do you have your little assistant working with you today, Angela? Your student?
No.
Oh, she's so cute.
No, not here. This is another one, the smallest.
Right. We're getting there. We're getting there, Anik. Getting there.
I don't know.
Oh, I feel like you're a little shy to use the color, is what it's looking like to me.
It's the first time that I'm using pastels.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
no
you're
idea
cautious.
how.
You're being cautious.
Yeah,
so
very much.
I think the thing is your colors are kind of disappearing back a little bit. So if you look at a Nuja here, that's vibrant. Like those colors are like super vibrant. You see the difference?
Yeah.
So I think you should be doing more testing, and maybe you should get a toothbrush, an unused toothbrush to run over maybe this guy to get rid of some extra pastel dust, and then you can put a lighter color on top. Because right now, everything's looking a little too gray and not like colorful enough. So we want to really push. So anyway, I'm just encouraging you to push it. We'll be practicing this technique. So don't worry. And we all know how good Anik is, right, guys? We know that she's good. So we really appreciate your putting stuff where you're not feeling totally like confident, because I think that is the mark of a professional, a pro. You don't have to be good at everything. All things are different. And these classes are designed to make you a little bit insecure, everyone.
Yeah, I enjoy this being insecure a little bit in different mediums. I'm just thinking I guess I never liked the color pencils. I went straight for a watercolor when I was 5.
Right. So you prefer painting and the paintbrush, that's okay. But you're going to learn things from this medium.
Yeah, exactly. I already learned a lot.
Yeah, right? Like you're going to learn things from learning to use this medium. Watercolor is a more cautious medium by nature.
I see that.
And so with paint, to really get what you want, you've got to push it a little bit more. You might have to go darker on your base than feels correct to you. That may be what's happening, Ani, because you might be going too light with your base color. Which
that
means,
may be.
Yeah. So try experimenting with some darker colors.
Well.
thinking about translating the watercolor brain to that. I'll share with you guys. I have one teacher who works for me, who has been a student of mine for 3 years. And she, when I first introduced Pastel to her, she's a wonderful artist, like really amazing. She cried because it didn't make sense to her. She kept like putting the top layer, the whole thing about blending. And one of the things that I found really amazing, she just did a watercolor, sorry, she just did an oil painting of such vibrance. Let me see, where is it? She was at Sunday Art. She just did a watercolor of such, an oil painting of such vibrance that it was completely connected to the work she's done. Here, I'll send it over so you can see it. I've never seen her paint like this. This is the oil painting that she just sent over.
Oh my God.
Right?
Wow.
So this is really has been influenced by her work with Pastel.
Okay, now for the first time I see the work that Diana does, I can make sense of what you have been talking about all along.
With underpaintings, right?
Yes.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
It
does
makes
not
sense.
make. Now it makes sense. So look at how that Mark made it. This looks like a pastel drawing. It is not. It's an oil painting. But she tried as hard as she could to turn an oil painting into what her pastels look like. So that has been the really wonderful thing to see her evolve, to see how one medium affects another. It's pretty neat. Speaking of Diana, yeah, so guys, take a look. Diana, can you here, I'm going to resend over your initial. You need to see how Diana started.
Yeah.
I'm going to send this over so you can see it. So look at the blue. Diana started. So the nice thing about paint, which is different than pastels, is that you can put a dark layer and then lay your lights on top. So notice Diana's dark blue layer and then here, and I'll forward this again. Notice Diana's dark blue and then the lights that are on top. And look at how those lights vibrate because they're on top of this dark. Yeah. Let me see. Needy, that's looking pretty good. Can I see your testing? I'd like to see your testing.
Oh, sorry.
Take a picture of that and send that over. Wonderful, Diana. And great demonstration of what they're working towards.
That's why I sent it over, just to put on the
right.
And see it. What you've been doing all along.
Right. Let me give you another example. I'll show you a painting where half of it is the bottom, is the first layer, and half is the second. Here, I'll show you. Okay.
Mine is far from done though. It's just like second layer.
Are you gonna layer it more?
Yeah.
Layer. Oh, green.
Right.
He's really enjoying this, folks.
Very nice, Annika. Needy, I'm not seeing the color vibrancy. I see 2 layers here, but they look very light. So I think you should be going a little bit darker. I think you should test some darker colors under your lights before you.
Actually, yeah, actually I'm using oil pastels, and I have kept a cotton with me to merge the 2 things.
All right,
but
so
it's
those
very
things,
difficult.
so oil doesn't work the same way that, so just do the best you can. Oil does not work the same way as dry pastels. I know, I need to send you some. I'll make sure to do that today. Annika, that looks great. That's coming along. Now look at that, guys. There's some vibrance happening here. And look at her testing so that you can see it. So I don't know if you can see this painting, this sort of this blue sky with the red layers. So everything that's underneath the lanterns and the dark is the first layer. And everything looked like that. The entire painting looked like that. Now look at how vibrant that blue is. And look at how glowing that dark building is, right? That's because it's over another color. I didn't lay that right down on a white canvas. So that is an example of how the painting starts to change when you layer colors on top. And that's the thing that's not intuitive about the process. So oh my God. Okay, tell me not to look at the election results. This has been a terrible day. This has been a terrible election for Americans. It's really hard. You know, it's one thing to have a horrible leader, but it's really hard to realize that half of the population likes him.
Yes,
It's
true.
really
I can
hard,
understand.
right? Right? It's really hard when you realize that half the nation, my country is a shithole. And I won't say anymore, but I will say that people are
resonating all the way.
People are mean. They are mean and evil and yucky, and they're all over. Like the
Some positive
coronavirus.
today, Leah.
I know. I need some positive, right? Come on. One of these days we have to be able to let it. I'm not going to say anymore.
Isn't
Dana
Biden
doesn't like
winning?
having this on the video recordings, but I'm just like, oh my God.
We don't know yet if Biden won.
Well, it's close. It looks like Biden's going to win, but not by much.
But I think, you know, if you look at it from the outside, people do like Trump for what he's
That's
doing
our
for
point.
Americans.
That's my point.
You
He's
know?
not doing anything, and that's my
You know,
point. They like him
uh,
because they are racist, and they like him because they are afraid that letting other people be in means they don't get what they don't get to keep what they have. They think they have a right to keep what they have. It's a lot of problems.
I don't know, but on the contrary, if you look at in India, people think that he's good for Americans, not for India, but he's good for Americans, like whatever he's doing for H-1B visa and all the things, you know. He's actually looking at raising their salaries and all this kind of stuff. That's what the general perception is.
Oh, that's
But yes,
the
he's
wrong
very.
perception. It's the wrong perception, and it's not why people voted for him. Nobody in America knows what an H-1 visa, HN1 visa is. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
They don't have any idea. Less than 5% of Americans hold a passport, Needy. They don't care about like that. That's not what they're thinking about. What they're thinking about is they don't want you to come. That's what they
Yes.
think. They don't want you there. They don't want any of you there. And they feel like racism is okay. Like racism is in fact, they support it. They support racism. It's a much more racist. I mean, I knew it was a racist country, but I still thought the majority of people were not racist. And now I know that that's not true. Now I know that like half the people in the country are completely racist. Like that is a problem. All right. Okay, let's not talk about it. It's bad. I can't take it. Aren't these pretty colors?
Let's change the topic.
Isn't that pretty colors? It's pretty colors.
This is our break from politics.
Yes, yes. If there is such a thing.
I'm going to send a picture as like every fruit
Natalia,
step.
these are, I would say, I still feel like your colors are not vibrant enough. That's what I'm feeling like. I'd like to see, look at Olga's. Olga's now got a lot more vibrancy in her colors. Olga, you need to add your darks in. Sorry, Olga, you need to add your darks in more clearly. Your colors are looking kind of soft. I'd like to see more brightness, particularly look at the lime here.
It's very early stage for me.
Okay.
Like it, you know, but
got it.
Yeah. But
So I guess what I would say is I want you to push the brightness. So what you're going for is brightness on the top layers. So, but looking good, looking good. Olga looking good. All right, I will not. Olga's showing all of her testing there. Good.
Yeah, I have a question about layering.
With
because
layering.
Yeah, because I have like 15 layers on some of these like lemons, but like upper layers, they're not like stick to the paper. They're like falling down.
Well, right. Well, what kind of paper are you using?
I think it's like ordinary paper. It was written that for pastels also like for.
Is it bumpy? Does it a little bit bumpy? Is it smooth?
It's smooth.
Is it like printer paper?
A bit harder than
a bit harder than printer paper. You might have too much dust, so you may have to take a toothbrush and scrub off a little bit to get those top layers to stick. Yeah, there's a point where you get enough dust in there, and from just the laying down of the pastel, and it becomes muddy, which is important because when you start mixing in paint, the same thing will happen. So your job is to get rid of some of that extra dust. You can try getting rid of extra dust with a little paper towel and, you know, using a little bit of paper towel. But if you've got a toothbrush, that's the best.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice. Is this making you happy, you guys? This is they're pretty great, aren't they? They're awesome.
I love these colors.
Yeah.
Yes, really enjoying it today.
Yeah.
I love the smudging part.
The smudging part. That's right. Yeah. So those of you who like charcoal will like pastels for that same reason. Those of you who like charcoal will like that. Those of you who are more have more of an affinity to ink and watercolor will find the pastels maybe a little bit more difficult because you have to do more mixing, right? Like you're required to put in darker layers than instinctually you're thinking that you should. Wait till we get to painting. Then the layers get really dark, just like Diana's painting. You can see the painting of her dog started out way darker than it's winding up, right? The lights actually sit on top of the darks, and that is the thing that feels very different than watercolor and ink.
I'm afraid. I'm scared of this part.
Yeah, we'll get there. You'll get there. You're going to totally nail it because your color sense is good. I know that. We have about half an hour.
This dog I'm doing, it's a friend's dog a friend that asked me to do a painting of her dog. So
I like the blue base.
Honestly saying, I wouldn't think ever of a blue underpainting for.
Right. We're going to spend a lot of time.
But
so your understanding.
Brilliant.
Yeah, your understanding of color is going to explode once we get to painting, because that's all painting is about, is like finding the underpainting, adding the colors on top, color mixing is a lot more nuanced than you think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like to have kind of the complementary color underneath.
Mm-hmm. Not just the complementary color, but like
Contrast.
a blue, like it's cool versus warm.
Yeah.
So if you'll notice the difference between my painting, which has a red underpainting, how warm that is, and Diana's painting, which has the blue, which is much cooler. It's you want it, all of these things influence like the top layers. And unlike watercolor and ink, you can go very dark and layer lights on top. Like the darker you go, the better your lights are going to look.
I think I think that it's gonna be a kind of revolution for me, because so many years I spent like watching out to leave some bright spots, so not to go too dark, or because of the fact that it ruins everything in watercolor and so on and so forth. So to some extent I'm scared, but I hope I will find it liberating.
What you'll find is that, so what's nice about pastel, so pastels is a little bit more exacting. If you get too dark and muddy, you have to get rid of it somehow. Either you're going to need to spray, right, with hairspray or fixative, or you're going to need to scrub off some of the extra dust so you can layer lighter colors in. But what you'll find with painting is if you get too muddy, you just let it dry, and then you can go back in over it when it dries and put things on top. So lights really don't generally look light unless they're on top of something dark. That is like the real lesson of all of these materials. Yeah, but you're right, it's totally the opposite of painting. And actually watercolor painting is really hard. That's why we don't get to it until April. We'll spend a month with acrylic, and then those of you who want to go on in February and March to oil will join me in oil. Acrylic, people will stay in acrylic. This technique is pretty much the same. But oil and acrylic are much more forgiving in a lot of ways.
No.
Yes.
They're a lot more forgiving.
Yes.
It's easier. So if it makes you feel better, Ani, you're working, your tendency is towards the hardest medium.
I love it. It's just like so light,
right?
And at the same time, it can be so amazing if it comes to the meaning that kill your eyes with the brightness and the color. But it's it is difficult. On the other hand, it's easy to carry from Poland to Italy.
Right. Right.
That's also the plus of it.
Leah, are we also gonna have class on the 5th Thursday of each month? Or
yes, from now on we'll do that. And although I believe the 5th Thursday one is Christmas Eve and one is New Year's Eve. So yes, unless we all decide that we don't want to, there may be, maybe Christmas and New Year's will take off, but otherwise, yes, every week, no breaks. We'll be here every Thursday at 5 o'clock for your art TV time.
Hard to do it with a pencil because there are so many colors, and just do it in different black and gray. It's really
well, get yourself some pastels, my dear, and not the oil ones, the dry ones, the ones that are like chalk.
Yeah, oil ones are very difficult. If you rub them, they'll just come out of it.
Yeah, they get kind of like sticky. Although I had somebody in a class, if you're used to working with, it's just a different technique, but do your best. You learn from each one. Let's see. But yours is looking great, Anya. It is looking really good. Nice. Coming along, you guys, doing well. Yours is it's a lovely drawing. Look at how he's, Anusha's going bananas with those colors. Ah, nice, Anik, that's coming along. So a lot of what will help is
I already
getting your,
broke several.
right?
To get it harder. And they are new ones.
Yes, and I think when you get your darks in, those dark outlines, it's gonna be even more dramatic, and your background. So in this case, the background is really important. Not so much for the pencil drawing. I think the background can be light. So this afternoon, maybe too late for you guys. I will, but you can catch up the video. This afternoon at 3 o'clock LA time, 6 o'clock New York, DC time, we'll be doing a watercolor lesson. So if you want to jump into that, you're welcome to, or if you want to just keep an eye out for that, we'll be doing watercolor. I'll be doing watercolor with them probably for the next month.
So Leah, in how many hours is that, to confirm?
Well, right now, from right now?
Yeah.
11:38.
4 hours from now?
A little bit over 4 hours, right?
Okay, fine. So
No,
I got that.
5 hours.
No, if we start at 3 our time, this class ends at 11. That's 4 hours later.
No. You're not doing the math right. This class starts, hang on. Nope, nope, you're confusing it. Let me count and I'll tell you. 10:40, 11:40, 12:40, 1:40, 2:40, 3:40. I guess you're right. 4 hours, about 4 hours. Okay. About 4 hours from now. Okay, sorry, Diana, you're right. I was jumping into I was accidentally converting for the East Coast time and not the West Coast time.
So 4 a.m. India time.
Yeah, 4 a.m. Yeah, that class is not designed to hit India times. This one is.
Yeah. I mean, I send it anyway because if somebody's, sitting awake and wants to jump in, they should at least know. So that,
exactly.
If you want to jump in at 4 a.m., sure.
So the truth is, now, I mean, aren't you guys kind of attuned? Don't you work to New York and DC timelines and London timelines in India? When you're
so right now we are 10.5 hours ahead of New York and Washington time.
So that's what you want to be thinking about, 10.5 as opposed to.
I can never make sense of this daylight saving.
And
it is a
UK
pain.
5.5 hours behind us.
And it's like, why isn't this hemisphere saving that daylight?
I don't know. But here's what's really annoying. Like
we
Europe.
are a tropical country. That's why we don't need that because the northern hemisphere doesn't get that much of sun in the winters. So that's why we don't need a daylight saving. Our sun is always shining bright on top.
There you go. Yeah, you don't need it the way we need it. You don't need it the way we need it.
The sun never set on the British Empire, we kicked out.
But here's what's really annoying. The daylight savings time works in different countries, different ways. So in Europe, they did daylight savings time like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And in the US, we did our daylight savings time 1 week ago. Like there was a time period where it's good there were no classes that week.
In Australia and New Zealand is like goes 1 hour ahead, so they're like
good lord,
going far.
Oh, it's so frustrating. Anybody else want to send over? We've got about 20 minutes left, so feel free to send over. You guys are doing great, by the way. I just want to make that really clear. This is really great for dealing with a new medium. Diana, do you have an update for us on your doggy?
Yeah, I changed my background. I haven't worked on the dog, but
right. That's nice, Claudia. Good vibrancy. I like it.
I can't decide what color background, but
let me take a look. Can you send, did you just send it? Send it
Yeah,
over again.
I've
Let's
done
see.
2 colors there.
Okay.
Or
Oh, I
3.
see. I see. Oh, how about both?
Yeah, maybe.
I kind of like that gray that drifts up into, you know what I like about it is it kind of, that neutral gray that drifts up into purple, that drifts up into blues. I feel like it shifts, it moves the eye up the canvas. So I think that's a nice, and it also really the blue really highlights the lights on that doggy's head. I think it's perfect.
Okay, I'll keep that. Well, now I'm gonna work on the dog. On the
But
poor
it's
dog.
good to get, like, you guys pay, this is really great painting construction that Diana is modeling right now. I'll see, once again, I'm gonna pull them out so that you can see. This is step 1. And this is step 2. It's very nice, Diana, like super nuanced work. Step 2 with the red background. And then here is step 3. So look at how she's, when she's making the decisions that she's making. Oh, Annika, that's looking great. Rashmi, I love the testing. How are you liking pastels? How are you liking them?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Right.
One of the first colors I had actually bought when I had gotten into this class. I had gotten it by mistake actually, but then I realized that it can be used. Because Sandra uses it all the time, right? With all her
Yes, she does. So it is a vibrant, and Sandra's, so yeah, and once again, you guys, look at how Diana started out here. She started out with blue dog, very dark blue, red background. Then all these lights on top of the blue. And then look at how she's shifted the background has then become these sort of grays and blues so that she can decide what else she needs to do with the dog. There was a point where she couldn't keep working on the dog until she had established her background. So that is really, it is really beautiful. Annika, I can see this is, you're liking this.
Yeah, but it's difficult.
It is difficult, but you're doing a good job.
Annika, you're really taking to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. But my fingers are messy.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
But I think I need to leave you because I have to work a little bit before
the next class. Great work today, Diana. All right, great work. We'll see you at 3, Diana.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome to join. Annika, if you want to join as well, you're welcome to. Anybody's welcome to join. If you're up at 4 in the morning or 1 in the morning or whatever it is, please join.
Okay. I have a 6 a.m. shift tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm just going to sleep.
We do know that sometimes the West Coast class will work for you, right? Because it's at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. What time does gosh, if it is 6 a.m. if it's 6 p.m. in LA.
So what is the time there in New York?
It's not in New York. New York, it'll be 6 p.m. So it's like 4 in the morning for you guys. 6 p.m. 4:30. But the LA, which is not 10 and a half hours, but 13 and a half hours. So 6 p.m., 13 and a half. That means class would start at 7 a.m. on Thursday. So actually that's kind of a civilized time, depending on if you have to work or not.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, Emma. Coming along. Beautiful. Everybody's having so much. This is so great. By the way, anyone who wants to join the October thread, it seems to have just gone on to being a showcase what you're working on thread. So if anybody wants me to add them to that, so you can show paintings that you're working on, it's a very supportive group. Excuse me. Wonderful. We've got about 10 minutes left. You guys are doing great. Okay, Anik, now we're starting to get somewhere. Very nice.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like the caution though.
I think I start to get it finally.
Yes.
Maybe next time it's gonna be better.
Definitely, I do not doubt that at all. Ah, Sherry, that looks great. How's that feeling? It's good for practice. So I really, Sherry, if you want to, I really push these dark lines that are around the edge of most of these objects. Really look at, you've got some of them, but really push, look, notice these strong dark lines. You can kind of do more with your pencil there. Very nice. Good job, you guys. And it's okay. Don't ever apologize for not having supplies. I think one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that anybody can jump in on this class and do it at any level. So you can stick with pencil all the time if you want to. But those of you in pencil are probably, like Anya said, a little bit jealous of those of you who are working with color just because it's so vibrant. Yeah, it's you're learning a whole new level of painting process that's really delightful. Nice, looking good. Also, things that look simple. Ah, nice, Natalia, coming along, beautiful.
I don't have black.
Oh, you don't? Try mixing. Do you have a dark blue?
Yeah, but I actually have these very old pastels because I used to, so they are just crashing in my hands, kind of.
Try mixing the dark blue over the brown and see if that should give you the darkness that you want.
Okay, we'll try.
And if it falls apart, just take a little crumble of the
and just press
just with your finger, scrape it up and like put it on. I mean, technically, you should be able to use charcoal too. It's a similar, not the same, but you want to kind of stick to one medium.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That's so funny. We've got about 10 minutes left, guys. So notice what you can get done in 10 minutes.
Can I just tell you, I'm having the most fun today.
Isn't it the greatest? Isn't it the greatest? I know, because you're a color person, because I had the same reaction. As soon as I pulled out the pastels, I was like, whoa, oh my God, I forgot. Like, I love to draw, love it, but color is like where it's at for me. And that is really, I know, just getting to add this color in is really fun. This is, by the way.
I knew I'm going to enjoy this, but I can see it's better.
Yeah, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to make your colors better than you thought you could, than you can on your own, which is also nice because you're going to learn about mixing, which is the key to all work with color is mixing. We're going to work. I'll have to find out something. I really want to do something. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who Olga sent a really nice picture that she made to Sandra Mahler just to tell her she was thinking of her. She's going through chemo and it's not fun right now. So if you can send her like a thought or a note on WhatsApp or anything, she totally appreciates that. So I know she doesn't always have the energy to respond, but she is, she's going through it right now, and we want to support her. So if you can, send her a little something.
Leah?
Yes.
When you add the black lines,
yeah,
do you smudge them? I mean,
yeah, well, in certain places I do, like here. Can you see where I'm pointing on the area on the drawing? Here I smudge, here I smudge, and here I smudge. But here I probably don't smudge, right? If there's strong contour lines, I'm not going to smudge it. If there are areas, I'm more likely to smudge it. It makes you really appreciate what Cezanne was doing, doesn't it? It looks so simple, but there's a lot of like technique that's going into this very deceptively simple painting. And he was playing with that. Sorry, not Cezanne, Matisse. It's much less simple than it seems. It's much more layered. We're going to talk about another painter next week called Odilon Redon, who's a French painter from the mid 1800s. He also he used pastels. So we might actually look at one of his pastels. And he was what they called a symbolist or a colorist. So everything was expressed with color. All the shapes are very simple. And the depth of them is so amazing. Like, I like to call him my dead French boyfriend. Yes, I love it. I love his work so much. There's a lot of guys. Actually, I tend to really gravitate towards French painters.
Because I had to grab something.
Oh, Odilon Redon. Let me type into the Odilon Redon. Actually, I can show you a little bit of his work. Do you guys still need to look at this, or can I pull it down and show you a couple pieces?
I know the dude.
All right, you know the dude. He's so great, right? Here, so let's see. Let me jump in and show you Odilon Redon. It's always good to know what has happened before, right? So let's see. Do a little Google search. I have a couple books too, so I can show you. French painter. I really do tend to gravitate towards the French painters. Let's see. Yes, this is a very classic Odilon Redon. So can you? Whoops. Hey.
You like the round shapes and eyes.
Very simple, round. Let's take a look at this. There we go.
I love that bird from the top.
Right? Yeah. This one? So he did oil painting. Yeah. Look at that vibrancy. Isn't that insane? So he did a lot of like, look at this one. This is pastels. So you'll see the colors are simple. The shapes are very simple, but this is like insanely, the color has a lot of depth. So we're going to try one of his, maybe this one or a piece of it, so that you can start to see what he was doing when layering colors. This is what we're actually working with. Yeah, look at his work. Isn't it amazing? Oh, look at that. It's so vibrant. There's nothing really like the work that this guy does. Yeah, it's beautiful. Where are my favorites? Let me do Odilon Redon flowers. He's very known. So when I say symbolist, oh yeah, here you go. When we say symbolist, what we mean is look at the shape, look at the shapes are very simple. Everything, but look at how this painting vibrates. This pastel drawing vibrates. It just vibrates. So we're going to practice how to get some. We might do a little bit of work with, this is what I usually do, although I know Sandra really wants an animal, so maybe we'll get one of his with an animal in it. but I want you to practice this. So everything is conveyed with color. So there's a lot, we know now that you can't get this red with one layer, right? We know that there's at least 3 probably in here to get this red looking that way. It's so amazing. Here, hold on. I'll jump back out. We're gonna stop this share. How do I do that? Oh, I see it. It came. It came. Congratulations. Put this back up. I'm gonna put the share back. Oh, it's about time. I suppose it's time to end. So why doesn't everybody who wants to show what you've worked on hold it up, and I'll spotlight you one at a time so we can see how it went. Olga, let's start with you. Hold yours up. Oh, nice. Nice. Very nice. Coming. Oh, lovely. I like your background, particularly your, I like particularly the floor. Very nice. Okay, let's see. Rashmi, can you take your background down, Rashmi, so we can see you?
I'll try it till then. I think I
Yeah, but able to figure it out. I think you just go to participants. Is that it? No, it's all right. I'll come back. There we go. Hold it up. Hold it up. All right. So your background matches what you're working on. So just keep working on it. Working on it. It's lovely. Who else wants to show? Hold theirs up.
I do.
Claudia, show me yours.
Yep. Give me a sec. I bought A3 paper.
Ooh, nice vibration, good colors. Yep, this is something for you. I can see it. And look at what happens when she adds those darks. Natalia, can you hold yours up so we can see it in like person? Beautiful.
Oh.
Beautiful. It's interesting
I love
how
your palette at the bottom.
it's really interesting how everybody's work looks different, right? Even though we're doing the same thing. And that is voice. There's a softness to that that shows up in all of Natalia's work. Anik, very nice. You pushed far on this today, Anik. Very good. Really, really good. I like it. Who else wants to show?
I do.
Who's up? Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can see you. Who?
That's me.
Anuja.
Yes.
All right, hang on. Let me grab you. Where are you, Anuja? Hold on, I've got to find you on the top of the thing. There you are. Okay, hold it up, Anuja. And then Annika, I'm going to do you. Oh, yeah, baby. Now that's colored.
Yay, I'm so happy with this.
Wait, hold that up because you look so happy with that in your hand. Like, and I can see color is like your thing. There we go. Oh, how wonderful. That's so
Your
great.
colors are so vibrant.
I
mean,
know. So she really pushed. Look at her testing. Look at her testing. Annika, can you hold up yours? I really like what's happening there too. Where are you? There she is. Annika, hold on. I'm getting there. Replace the spotlight. Oh my God. Oh my God. Gorgeous. Really nice vibrancy. Good job. Good job. Oh my God. Anybody else want to show it before we go? Judy? Angela? Let's see, Judy.
Yeah,
Hold it up.
I haven't finished yet.
Let's see. Oh, it's coming along, dear. It's looking great. And I love the testing on the side. Wonderful. It's looking great. It's looking really great. Wait till you put your background in and then it'll really pop. Like that will really pop for it. Yes, it's messy. All right, Needy, do you want to show yours? Show us what you got.
Yes.
Actually, not bad at all. Good job. Even though you're using a different material, very nice blending. I like it. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Angela, you want to show yours? Let's see.
Yes. Unmute myself. Can you hear me?
We can. Hold it
I
up.
don't have colors, so I'm
So you
actually
use the
ashamed.
pencil? Show us. Uh-oh, do we lose you? Oh no! Oh no. Everybody froze for me. That might be my issue. Nope. All right, well, anyway. Huh. I think my computer just crashed there for a second. All right, so Angela, show me again, if you don't mind, since I didn't get a chance to see
Angela's again.
Sorry.
It's just the skeletal part I have.
Looking great.
The colors to finish it. Maybe before the next class, I'll do this and post in the WhatsApp group.
That sounds great. Do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll take care. All right, you guys, great work today. I'm going to end the meeting. Lovely to see everyone. I love all of you, and it's great to see you.
Bye, everyone. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Care.